They had everything most people dream of. Fame, fortune, millions of fans, their faces on every screen in America. But behind the smiles and the applause, something was breaking. These child stars grew up in the spotlight, and the spotlight destroyed them. This is the story of 5 young actors who achieved stardom before they could understand what it meant and paid for it with their lives. The brutal truth that Hollywood doesn't just make stars, it consumes them. Judith Barsi was 6 years old when she started acting. By age 10, she had appeared in over 70 commercials and dozens of TV shows and films. You know her voice. She was Ducky in The Land Before Time and Anne-Marie in All Dogs Go to Heaven. She made $100,000 a year. She was supporting her entire family, and she was being systematically destroyed by her father. Joseph Barsi was an alcoholic who became increasingly violent as his daughter's success grew. He resented that a child was the family breadwinner. He resented the attention she received. He took it out on Judith and her mother, Maria, with escalating abuse. Neighbors heard screaming, teachers noticed bruises. Judith's behavior changed. She started pulling out her eyelashes and her cat's whiskers, a sign of severe anxiety in children. She told her agent she was afraid her father would hurt her. Child Protective Services were called. They investigated. They found no evidence of abuse. Joseph was careful. He knew how to hide it. He knew how to threaten his family into silence. On July 25, 1988, Joseph's control finally snapped. He waited until night. He went to Judith's bedroom while she slept. She was 10 years old. He shot her in the head with a .32 caliber pistol. Then he went to the hallway and shot Maria. Then he poured gasoline throughout the house. 2 days later, he went to the garage and shot himself. The house burned. Firefighters found 3 bodies. Judith Barsi's films were released posthumously. Millions of children watched The Land Before Time and heard Ducky's voice saying, "Yep, yep, yep." They had no idea the girl who voiced that character had been murdered by her own father. The industry knew there was abuse. Teachers knew, neighbors knew, Child Protective Services knew, but a 10-year-old girl making $100,000 a year was too valuable to lose. So everyone looked the other way, until it was too late. Dana Plato became famous at 14, playing Kimberly Drummond on Diff'rent Strokes, one of the biggest sitcoms of the 1980s. She was America's sweetheart, the pretty blonde girl with the perfect smile. But behind the scenes, her life was chaos. Her mother was her manager and controlled every aspect of her career and finances. When Dana got pregnant at 18, the show fired her. Her career ended overnight. By 19, she was broke, divorced, and struggling with addiction. The money she'd earned as a child star was gone, mismanaged, or stolen by the adults who were supposed to protect her. Dana tried to restart her career. She couldn't. Once you're typecast as a child star, Hollywood doesn't want you as an adult. She took any work she could find. Low-budget films, reality TV, eventually softcore pornography. Nothing worked. The bills kept coming. In 1991, desperate for money, Dana walked into a video store in Las Vegas with a pellet gun and robbed it. She got $106. She was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to probation. Her mugshot became a punchline. The media mocked her. Late-night comedians made jokes. The girl who had been America's sweetheart was now America's cautionary tale. Dana spiraled deeper into addiction. Alcohol, pills, anything to numb the pain of watching her life disintegrate. She tried to get clean multiple times. It never lasted. In 1999, Dana seemed to be turning things around. She was engaged, talking about getting clean for good. She did an interview on Howard Stern's radio show. It went horribly. Stern mocked her, made cruel jokes about her past, humiliated her on air. The next day, May 8, 1999, Dana was visiting her fiancé's parents in Oklahoma. She seemed happy, optimistic. She went to sleep in her motorhome. The next morning, she was found dead. The cause of death was an overdose of Lortab and Valium. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide. Her fiancé insisted it was accidental. It doesn't matter. Dana Plato was 34 years old. She'd spent half her life famous and the other half trying to escape what fame had done to her. She never escaped. Her son, Tyler Lambert, died by suicide in 2010. He was 25. 2 generations destroyed. Brad Renfro was discovered at age 10 in his hometown of Knoxville, Tennessee. A casting director saw him and knew immediately. This kid had something. Brad's first film was The Client in 1994, starring opposite Susan Sarandon and Tommy Lee Jones. He was incredible, natural, raw, authentic. Hollywood loved him. The offers poured in. Tom and Huck, Sleepers, Apt Pupil, Ghost World. By 15, Brad Renfro was one of the most sought-after young actors in Hollywood. He was also already addicted to drugs. Brad grew up in poverty in Tennessee, raised by his grandmother because his parents couldn't take care of him. Hollywood gave him money, fame, and access to everything a teenager shouldn't have access to. He started using heroin at 15. By 18, he'd been arrested multiple times for drug possession, DUI, and attempted theft. The pattern was predictable: arrest, rehab, relapse, repeat. Brad tried to get clean. He went to rehab over a dozen times. He'd get sober for a few months, book a new role, then relapse. The industry kept hiring him because he was talented. But they didn't help him. They just wanted him functional enough to finish filming. In 2005, Brad and a friend tried to steal a yacht while high. They were arrested. In 2006, he was arrested for heroin possession. In 2007, he violated probation and was sentenced to 10 days in jail. He served the time, got out, and told friends he was done with drugs. He wasn't. On January 15, 2008, Brad Renfro was found dead in his Los Angeles apartment. He was 25 years old. The cause of death was an overdose of heroin and morphine. His body wasn't discovered for hours. He died alone. The media barely covered it. Brad's death was overshadowed because Heath Ledger died a week later. And Ledger was a bigger star. Brad Renfro's funeral was small, attended by family and a few friends. Hollywood didn't show up. The industry that had made him famous, that had profited from his talent, didn't even acknowledge his death. He was just another child star who couldn't handle fame. Another cautionary tale. Another body. Corey Haim was 13 when he became famous in Lucas in 1986. By 15, he was a superstar, one half of the two Coreys, alongside Corey Feldman. They were the biggest teen idols of the late 1980s, starring in The Lost Boys, License to Drive, and Dream a Little Dream. Teenage girls had posters of Corey Haim on their walls. He was making millions, and he was being sexually abused. Corey Feldman later revealed that both he and Haim were molested by powerful men in Hollywood during their teenage years. Haim told Feldman that he was raped by an adult man on a film set when he was 14. The abuse was an open secret in the industry. Everyone knew. No one stopped it. Corey Haim started using drugs at 15 to cope with the trauma. By his early 20s, his career was over. He couldn't get work. The money was gone, stolen, or mismanaged. He was broke, addicted, and damaged. He tried to get clean. He went to rehab 15 times. It never worked. The drugs were the only thing that made the pain stop. Corey spent his 30s doing reality TV, trying to revive his career, struggling with addiction. He and Feldman did a reality show called The Two Coreys. It was painful to watch. Haim was clearly unwell, erratic, desperate. The show was canceled after 2 seasons. On March 10, 2010, Corey Haim collapsed in his mother's apartment. She called 911. Paramedics arrived and tried to revive him. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. He was 38 years old. The official cause of death was pneumonia, but the coroner found evidence of significant drug use. Haim's body was ravaged by decades of addiction. At the time of his death, Corey Haim had $4,000 to his name. No assets, no savings, nothing. The millions he'd earned as a child star were gone. He died broke, sick, and broken. And the men who abused him faced no consequences. They're still working in Hollywood today. Sawyer Sweeten was born in 1995. At 16 months old, he was cast on Everybody Loves Raymond, alongside his twin brother Sullivan and older sister Madeline. For 9 seasons from 1996 to 2005, Sawyer played Jeffrey Barone. He grew up on that set. It was his entire childhood. When the show ended, Sawyer was 10 years old. He'd been working since he was a baby. And then suddenly, it was over. No more set, no more routine, no more purpose. Child stars talk about this. The identity crisis that comes when the show ends. You've spent your entire life being someone on TV. When the cameras stop, who are you? Sawyer struggled. He tried to live a normal life, but he'd never had one. He'd been working since before he could walk. He didn't know how to just be a regular person. He became depressed. His family noticed, tried to help. But depression in young men is often invisible until it's too late. On April 23, 2015, Sawyer Sweeten was visiting family in Texas. He was 19 years old. He walked onto the front porch of the family home. He put a gun to his head, and he pulled the trigger. His twin brother and cousin were inside the house. They heard the shot. They found his body. Sawyer left no note, no explanation. Just a family destroyed by grief and a question that will never be answered. Why? His former castmates were devastated. Patricia Heaton, who played his TV mother, said she was heartbroken. Ray Romano said he was shocked and terribly saddened. But none of them saw it coming. Because Sawyer, like so many young men, hid his pain. He smiled, he functioned, and then one day, he didn't. Sawyer Sweeten's death is different from the others on this list. There was no abuse, no drugs, no exploitation, just a young man who grew up in the spotlight and couldn't find his place when it turned off. And that might be the most terrifying part, because it means even in the best circumstances, child stardom can destroy you. These 5 deaths represent different ways Hollywood destroys child stars: abuse, neglect, addiction, exploitation, and the simple psychological damage of growing up without a childhood. But they all share one thing. These were kids who never had a chance. They were put to work before they could consent. They were managed by adults who saw them as income, not children. They were used by an industry that profits from youth and discards you the moment you're no longer profitable. And when they broke, when the pressure became too much, when the trauma caught up with them, Hollywood looked away. Because there's always another kid waiting for their shot at fame, another family willing to sacrifice their child's well-being for a chance at fortune, another agent ready to sign a 6-year-old to a contract. The cycle continues. Right now, there are child stars working in Hollywood. Some will be fine, some won't. And we won't know which is which until it's too late, because the industry hasn't changed. Child labor laws in entertainment are weak. Financial protections are minimal. Psychological support is almost non-existent. Kids are still working 12-hour days on set. Still being managed by parents who see them as retirement plans. Still being exposed to adults who shouldn't be around children. And when they break, when they end up like Judith, Dana, Brad, Corey, or Sawyer, we act surprised. We call it a tragedy. We say, Hollywood is so dark, and then we go back to watching child stars on TV and pretending everything is fine. This is the brutal truth about child stardom. It's not a dream, it's a gamble with a child's life, and the house always wins.